All right, video viewers, you get a little behind the scenes because I'm going to record the intro and then you'll get the intro at the same time. So here we go. Hello, this is Tiffany, and you are listening to the Tiffness Fitness Podcast. Today's guest is Eric Spector of Eric Does Kettlebell on Instagram, and he makes awesome kettlebell content. If you aren't already following him, you definitely should be. Don't forget to check out his excellent apparel through at touchgrassco. Super nice shirts and awesome designs. So let's get into this episode with Eric. Solid, smooth, wrote my script, handled it. Yeah, and this will be the intro. Definitely, this is for episode 4 with Eric, and like I said, Eric does kettlebell on Instagram and touchgrassco, so check him out.
Let's just hop in then. How did you start strength training?
So I like that word choice, strength training, because
Yeah.
I feel like I don't do traditional strength training. I just do like a
Mhm.
holistic training approach. If I wanted to go like strict strength training, I would probably use more barbells because like you just like get way more load, way
Yeah.
more weight on the bar than you can with kettlebells. But I got into kettlebells specifically over 2020 when my gym required everyone to wear masks, and I tried it out and I just really could not work out with a mask on day after day. And
Mhm.
so I ended up like I stopped going to the gym, but then it ended up just closing down anyway, and like
Yeah.
all the gyms were just unavailable. So I would eventually have just been forced to figure out another way to work out. And so
Yeah,
that's when I found
definitely.
kettlebells. And do you remember? I don't know if you remember in 2020, when everyone was like building their own home gym,
hmm
kettlebells were impossible to find.
They
Like they
were
were
a hot
sold out.
commodity. I was
Yeah.
so lucky because I had gotten all my kettlebells when my old gym shut down in October 2019.
Oh,
Um,
before pre-pandemic they shut down,
yeah,
huh?
they shut down. They shut down for other reasons. It was a super cool gym that I coached and trained at, and they shut down because San Diego is a whole thing. Anyways, and they sold their kettlebells. I think it was like 75 cents on the pound.
That's the
Uh,
best rate I've ever heard. I
well,
think,
because they were just trying to
yeah.
like break even. So I got all of my bells that way.
You got your comp bells? Your gym had comp bells?
Yeah, it was a comp. We did a lot of competition, like sport training. I was on a team. It was like a sport kettlebell team there.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was a bummer that they shut down because there's not really much of a sport scene
You should
anymore in
open
San.
up your own. You should open up your own gym. Your own.
I saw them running a gym and it looked really hard, and I don't know. And also, like with my husband's job, we move every three
Yeah, that's
years,
true.
so
Yeah.
like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to like have a brick and mortar unless it's somewhere where we end up like stable. But I don't believe that's my future for the foreseeable time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would like to just like train in a gym again, but at least here there hasn't been any. There's not like a sport scene here, and that's what I really like to coach. And the kettlebell stuff here is just like swings and like a hit style workout, and that's not what I want to coach.
Yeah.
So I can just do it by myself in this little room, and that
I mean,
works.
it seems to be working for you. So just
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
at it.
doing that, and then I can coach like mace stuff and clubs, and it's a lot more
Yeah.
fun. And also I can like set my hours and things, which is also
Right.
really nice because it's nice to be like I can't coach this weekend because I want to go on a date with my husband or whatever.
That freedom is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
I that's sort of what I learned after picking up kettlebells is like there's way
Yeah.
more freedom involved with like just working out alone outside than being tethered. Even if you're not owning the gym, if you're just a member of the gym, they have certain hours you could be there. Maybe if
Mm-hmm.
you want to use certain equipment, you have to wait because you're going there after work and it's 5:30 p.m. and everyone else is there with you. And
Yeah.
it just like provides so much more freedom to
Yeah.
get what you need to get done.
Do
You
what
just
you want to
own one
do.
bell that you own and you can just do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. Do you train inside a gym at all these days?
Now I do, yeah. So recently moved out to Arizona, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I the bells that I had. So I was talking about how there was like a supply issue with
Yeah,
kettlebells.
we got distracted.
For some reason, that's like also occurring. I ordered. I don't want to disparage their name at all, but Kettlebell Kings, my 40 kilogram I've been waiting on for a few months now, and I think it's just like backed up because demand and something with production. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the supply chain.
It took months to get my adjustable bell from them.
Adjustable bell, yeah. Those are on sale, by the way. I don't know when this comes out, but I think they're selling them for like $2.99 now. They're normally like $3.50. So what wants to do.
When I got it, they've gotten up so it's more because when I got it was like $2.25.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah, and also I got a gift card because I got like I was like one of the top female snatchers when I did a comp, and they gave, that's like the only legit award I've ever gotten from any sort of kettlebell sport, anything. And I was like, oh man, I want that. And so I waited. I had like alarms in my phone to check every like 3 days if it was back on sale, and then it wasn't. Like, it was not on sale for forever, and then I finally got them, and I was so happy. And then it took like another like several weeks to get here because whatever. But I really like it, and I use it every day, so I can't like, well, not every day, but
that's awesome.
I use it all the time, so it's definitely worth it. If people can get their hands on an adjustable bell, I definitely recommend it.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah, I like Titan has one too. Like, a lot of my clients use the Titan bell, and it seems to work just as fine as this one.
I would use the adjustable bells, but I just don't like the competition style anymore. I used to be all about it, but now I'm more of the cast iron, like hard style stuff.
I mean, if that's the one that works for you, that's the one that works for you. Like, I don't care. I just do comps, so it doesn't make any sense to have hard style bells. I have one hard style bell that I also won. So
wait, but don't you do bent presses? I know you do it with like barbells, but don't you do those with? But that's
I had to go to a gym for that. So when I was doing bent press, like heavy bent presses, because I only have a bell up to 32. 34 if I add the little magnets I have. So I went into a gym, that was because I live on base, off base, and they had up to 90-pound bells, which was really nice. But they were kind of crappy, and they were like that like awful like slick material on them that was not great. So I was doing my bent press training there once a week, and that's like the only reason I had that gym membership. And then once I kind of progressed past kettlebell bent pressing, because I couldn't find any heavier bells, like I had to drive to fucking Denver to be able to do my bent press attempt, like the 50K. It was a whole ordeal. I was like, well, we'll have to move to barbells, and I stopped going to that gym because it was such a busy gym, and people had no sense of not being in someone's space. I was like, it's not going to be safe for me to bent press in here like a barbell, especially when I'm learning the movement. If I drop it, like, I could hurt someone. So that's when I started going to the base gyms, which is nice because it's free. I don't have to pay for that. And also I go in like mostly off hours. Like, I go like after PT time and before lunch. And generally speaking, I have like a lot of space to myself. There's exceptions to that sometimes when it's like a holiday day and there's like one gym open. But generally speaking, I can kind of do what I want in this space, and no one's yelled at me for membership. So that's nice. I want like, just so you know, like, I'm going to do a weird thing. I'm fine. Just like, don't be in this space. And I like try to warn people if they're like coming to stretch in my area. I'm like, hey, like, I know this looks precarious. I do have control over the situation. Don't worry. If I drop it, I won't drop it on you. Probably.
Does anyone ask you what you're doing? Because it's like non-traditional.
Yeah, I've had like, generally speaking, it's been good. Like, the other week I had like a guy ask me about what I was doing, because I do that, and then I also do like Steinborn squats. Like, I don't do anything normal in that gym. And so we talked a little bit about it. When I first started doing barbell bent presses, I had a guy like know what I was doing. It was like the only person who's ever known what I was doing. He was like, oh man, barbell bent press, that's rad. And I was like, what? you know what this is. That was cool. But I only saw him there one time and I never saw him again. I was a little bummed. I was like, man, I could have had a bent press friend.
You're
But
the ghost of bent press past that visited you.
I know. I don't even go to that one anymore. I like the gym I go to now is like essentially is like, I don't know, you've been on a base before, but like the
Yeah, it was
gyms are all
Marine.
different kind of gyms. Like there's like 4 or 5 gyms here, and one of them's like a commercial type gym, and one of them's like a CrossFit gym. So the one I go to now is basically a powerlifting style gym with like Atlas stones and stuff. So like the weird shit that I'm doing is not so weird in that space,
Right.
which is nice. The CrossFit gym was also fun. That's the other one I went to a lot because they're also doing weird shit. So I just didn't go into like the commercially style ones with all the machines
Right.
because there's usually too many people in those spaces anyways for me to like attempt to put a weight over my face with one hand because if somebody walks by me too close, it fucks me up a little bit. That's what kept happening at the club gym I went to off base. They that people would just like come near me and I'm like, there is 90 pounds on my arm right now. This is over half of my body weight balanced. I am like underneath it. You can't be this close to me. This is dangerous. So I was didn't really like training in there because I can take up a lot of space in the
Yeah.
army gym, and nobody really cares. And we're all pretty like aware of each other because the people who are there at this point like are people that like we don't know each other or talk really, but we're like head nod friendly at this point. So we kind of like work around each other, like because I tend to train, if you've seen my videos, like on like a turf area, and so there's like some guys who do like sled pulls, so I just time my rest around when they're not doing their pulls, or they're on the other side of the grass doing whatever the hell they're doing. I don't know, it's usually something silly, and then they're fine. We kind of work with it because it's a I don't want to drop a bar on someone because I
Yeah.
think that would probably be the limit for anybody. Somebody might actually get mad at me at that point. We don't need to do that.
They'd contact your husband. They'd be like, your wife is doing some weird stuff in the gym and now you're a danger to the
The
base.
other day was so funny though, because I have like obviously like blue hair, and somebody asked me if I was like in the military, and I was like, no. My hair
Just
is blue.
say you're in the Navy and then that's like ocean water. Change the color of
Yeah,
your
it's
hair.
like, yeah. I mean, I did have green hair growing up because of chlorine, but no, I was like, no. He's like, what are you affiliated with? I was like, my husband. Like that, I'm affiliated with. I guess I'm just like spouse.
You're
I
not
do
the
other things
typical,
also.
yeah, you're not the typical military spouse, I guess.
No, I guess not. I don't have like a million children and all the things.
Just all your million kettlebells are your children.
I have a psychotic dog. That is more than enough for me. She already like makes it so I can't leave the house. I don't need anyone else to stop me from being able to leave my house.
Right.
Because that's enough. And she's already expensive. I have to go take her to a vet, and I don't want to have to spend money on another human being and be responsible for them for that long. It's too much work. I'm far too lazy.
Yeah.
Well,
wait. I just to finish off that question though, because I know we had like
okay.
those conversations. The reason, so I do go to a gym now, and the
Yeah.
reason for that is because of the supply issues that are going. I don't have like heavy enough kettlebells
Mm-hmm.
to really get stronger, and so I go to a gym now that has a lot of kettlebells, which ironically are not used by many of the members. It's like me and maybe like a few. No, so. But I started there a couple months ago and it's been great because I just have them all to my disposal. There's like only a few people at the gym at a time. They have no idea what to do with kettlebells. So
that's been my experience in every like gym outside of core and like the gyms that were like kettlebell gyms, like that was their thing. Any like major gym that I've ever been in, no one knows what to do with a kettlebell. Definitely on a military based gym, there are some terrifying things happening. I I don't step in ever except for one time when a guy was like doing a Turkish get up and it was just hanging off of his fingers.
How
And
heavy
I was
was
like, I think it was like maybe a 16 or a 20. I don't remember, but it was enough that if he dropped it on his face, it was going to be a bad day for everyone. So I was like, hey, like, I don't want to be mean. But also I feel like a moral obligation to stop you from doing what you're doing. Like, you just got to put it on your palm. Like, I don't even care if your wrist is bent back. Like, can you not have it dangling off of your fingers? Because this is legitimately terrifying for me to watch right now.
How did he react?
He was fine. Yeah, he took it pretty cool. I think it was one of those people who like had seen me doing whatever I was doing. So like without like, because at that point I was training sport in the gym because I didn't have doubles. I was training like jerks and stuff. So like I generally look like I know what I'm doing. Hopefully, I mean sometimes it probably looks like I don't when I'm dropping barbells over my face a bunch of times, but generally speaking, I think I have that. So I was just like, hey, let me just show you, like, this is really easy. Just put it like that, and put it on your hand. Don't put it on your fingers because you're like windmilling, and that windmill could end up with a kettlebell breaking your teeth out, and I don't want to see that personally. And I know our health insurance here is not great, so
Yeah. Well, he's definitely been exposed to the Turkish getup, but he probably just was
yeah.
never in it.
It was probably a thing. He's like, I saw somebody on Instagram doing it.
Right.
So like he saw the steps kind of, and he had the steps kind of, but like not in a way that he like had been taught anything.
Right.
So I just was like, hey, let me just show you really quick. If you have questions, you can always ask me. I'm just over, in my corner doing jerks in a long cycle. No problem. And they were like, oh, okay. I've helped some people with overhead holds too, because they hold them like they really love to hold them on their fingers, and I just don't want to watch a kettlebell hit somebody. It scares me a little bit, but
it's really easy to tell when someone is a kettlebell rookie. Like there are so many different aspects of the hold or a lift where if something's off in a certain way, you're just like, oh, you haven't used bells for that long.
You haven't done this very much.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's impossible for someone to try to fool you too.
No, yeah, because you'll see it like immediately. But like so far, like I haven't had like people like be mad at me for like it's usually been like, oh, thank you, I don't know what I'm doing, which has been nice because sometimes that's not really how the vibe is. And I also do tend to like if I do see something, it's like, is that person going to be mean to me if I say something? Because sometimes you see people and you're like, they're not gonna want to hear me like a
correcting
lady
them out of nowhere.
Yeah, but sometimes people just ask me too, like because they still see me doing stuff, and they'll be like, "Hey, I saw you doing a swing or a snatch, and how do you do that?" And I help them.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm always down if somebody wants help with something. I'm always down to like I answer questions. I mean, you get me talking about bent press or snatches, I will talk about both of those things, no problem. So that's really what this podcast is, and is an excuse for me to talk about snatching and bent pressing. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, I've gotten a few people asking me like how to do things. They're just like, hey, I saw you were doing this. What is that? How do I do that? And yeah, but mostly the kettlebells get used for farmers carries. That's about all I really see.
Yeah, you mean like in gyms?
Like at least at the gyms I'm at, it's just for farmers carries, and that's all they're really doing.
Well, that's part of the combat fitness test, right?
Yeah, the ACFT. Yeah, it's part of it now. It's just for drag carry. And it's the overhead throw is a kettlebell swing. It's like an American swing. You just release it at the top.
Right, like the strongman comps. That's part of the PFT, like the Army PFT.
The ACFT is their new one, Army Combat Fitness. Yeah, it's 5. It's like 6 events. So it's the push-ups, but it's the weird push-ups where they put their arms out.
Fly
A
push-ups?
plank. Yeah, T push-up. I don't know. They put their arm out, and it's not for time. It's just like until your arms fall off, basically. Um, Plank hold. I don't know if it's a high or low plank, but it's a plank hold. It used to be like a tuck, like a bent arm tuck, but people couldn't do it because it was for men and women, and most women can't do the elbows to knees. Trap bar deadlift, the sprint drag carry, the overhead throw. There's probably something else that I'm missing, and then the run.
Yeah.
The 2 mile run, but everything's like skewed a little bit differently because there's so many more events now. Because it used to just be a run. It used to be push-ups instead of run, and now it's all the things. And the scoring is whatever. It keeps changing. Actually, it's changed.
Yeah,
Like
I remember reading though about kettlebells being used in their fitness tests, and I was like, oh, what are they doing with them? And yeah, it's just like the farmer's carries, and I guess
it's just the carry. Yeah.
like you said, but there's so many different things you can use with them that they're just not utilizing.
Yeah. Well, and that because like my husband's really people tend to struggle with the like that overhead throw, because they're like literally like throwing it overhead, and it's not getting any distance. But because my husband is stuck with me and does kettlebell swings all the time, he knows how to do that hip hinge, and then it's just the timing, the release on it essentially is all it is because you just
What's
just let it go.
Right. What's the weight for, like, do they use different bells depending on your body weight, or is it just one weight?
I think it's 20 kilo on the sprint track carry. I think it's 220 kilos.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's easy.
That event apparently like gassed as you was what he's told me. I have not tried it, and I probably won't. Yeah, because you sprint and then you drag like basically a bag, I believe, of like I don't know how much weight that is at all, and then you carry the weight, and then you have to be done in like 2 minutes or something crazy.
Okay.
And then do a bunch of deadlifts. I think it's like 3 rep max is what they're working on the deadlift. There's something else. And I don't know what it is. And I'm sure I'll think of it soon after, and somebody is listening and yelling at their phone, being like, "It's this. This is what they're doing." And I think I mentioned it in another one. But I don't remember. It's not important to me. I'm not training for that. It sounds terrible. I don't want to do push-ups. I'm not good at them.
You don't do push-ups at all?
I do. I just don't.
I
just don't.
I was gonna ask like how much of your training is like body weight calisthenics stuff.
Very little at this point. It has been more. Like at one point, like I was training push-ups, and that was like the thing I was doing. I was doing push-ups and like I was basically doing the quick and the dead, which is push-ups and swings or snatches. I did that and like right at the top of COVID. I was doing it for a little while as like supplementary stuff. And I was training push-ups and I was practicing push-ups. And then when my husband re-enlisted, he did like a test for like to see how many push-ups he could do before he got back in, and he whipped out like 1,000,000. And he does not strength train at all, and he didn't at that point. I was so mad. I was like, I don't want to do push-ups anymore. This is stupid. But I do them a lot when I'm doing like long cycle or jerk training. This is for have that little like explosive power through the chest, which is important for that. I don't really do at this like at the moment. I don't do a whole lot. I do like kick throughs every now and then, like that sort of thing. I try to do like overhead hangs, but I don't really have anywhere to do it here. I have like a little bar for the door, but like I touch the floor, so it's like just annoying to do.
Bend your knees.
Yeah, and I don't want to. And then my dog is like running in between my legs because she thinks it's funny, and I don't have any way to stop her, and then it's just not fun. So I like, yeah, I would like to do more because it would be better. It would be really great for my grip for sport, and also really good for my grip for bent press training. So I do them sometimes if I like have access at the gym, but usually by the time I'm doing accessory type work, there's people and they're on that spot where there's like pull-up stuff. And I don't really want to take up the space, especially because I've already been there for a couple of hours, and I've absorbed a lot of space myself. So it's their like 45 minutes that they get to do their stuff.
How long do your workouts typically last?
Bent press workout, like my big heavy bent press workout, that takes a couple hours usually. Everything else though is under an hour. But the bent press day, I have to rest so much between those sets because it's so much volume. I have to take a long time. Otherwise I can't do the next set. Because I'm doing, well, next week I'll be doing 5x5 at 85% of my max, which is a lot. And it just kind of knocks the shit out of me. I sit there and eat my little snacks in the corner and hopefully carb up enough so I can do my next set. Yeah, I just sit there with my snacks. I just got Sour Patch Kids because my powerlifting friend Peter told me that that's what gives the powerlifters their sick gains. So
Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, so I got some Sour Patch Kids, so I could do it. And honestly, I really liked it. And they're just like, it's like a good like little sugar rush in there. So it was really nice because usually I just do like cereal or pretzels or something, but I think the little extra bit of sugar was helpful. I'll take it. How long are your workouts normally?
My workouts are typically an hour if I don't
Yeah.
record them, and then if I record them, that adds like an extra 30 minutes to it.
Yeah.
Just because like set up the it's like a whole thing, you know. But
Yeah.
if I don't have my camera there, it's probably like an hour, unless I'm. But if
Yeah.
I will say it's different depending on what I'm doing. If I'm going till failure, then it's quicker, maybe like 45 minutes. Because when I go till failure, I do fewer sets.
Yeah. And they're shorter, probably.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But it's all dependent. But yeah, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I would say.
Yeah. That's if the filming I don't include because that's like work versus like my actual training. Right. Unless it's sport filming, because sport filming I just film a lot of my sets anyways because I can't count, and that's how I keep track of my pacing. Because I think I'm counting, and then when I go back and review the video, I'm always a rep off or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I underestimate usually. I usually think I'm doing like 18 reps, and then I count and I'm like, oh, it was 21 reps. All right, cool. That was yes.
You set up your phone on like a tripod.
Yeah, I have two. I have this one over here. This is great because this is audio. I have one back there, and that one's my old ring light, but I dropped it at one point and it won't stay straight. So I had to buy a second ring light, and it's just in my corner here, my very professional setup here. And I just shove my phone in there and push record, and depending on if I'm doing stuff off the floor or up, I move the stand up or down, and it tends to work generally. I prefer to go outside, but it's so shitty here all the time, and I can't really do sport outside because I need a timer and I don't want to fall down. And
they have. I was considering getting one of those large like clock timers, just like bringing them.
I have one.
You do. Why do you not want to bring those outside, or do they?
It's a plug-in.
You have to plug it in, yeah.
It plugs into the wall, so I don't think I could. And the cord is long enough for this room where I can move it so it's not like directly by there. It's like in my eye line when I'm doing my lifts. But I don't think I could do it outside. Also, outside is like, if I'm doing sport, I don't really want a bunch of like stuff. There's bugs and there's wind and there's rocks, and it's just a lot extra. And also I don't like wearing my my really nice lifting shoes outside because I would break them down a lot faster, and I don't want them to break down because I quite like them and they're very comfortable. And
how often do you train barefoot?
Basically if I'm not doing sport. That's it. And then I can't do barefoot in the gyms here.
That's just a question that I get a lot from people because I wear shoes in my videos and I just never really train barefoot, but I train with barefoot shoes. So
Yeah, that's fine. I like it. And if I was outside, I'd have to be wearing shoes all of the time, because rocks and bugs and I don't want to deal with it. Also ice, very often here. But like if I'm in here, I don't really wear shoes, except for sports stuff, because for sport you have to have shoes on when you do your comp sets. So yeah, well, because when you're on a platform, for jerks, for that much volume of jerks, you want shoes on because you're dropping really hard onto your heels, and it sucks without shoes. But also when you're doing like a competition, it's like usually like a super speedy turnaround before things, between like lifts or flights is what we call them, in sport, and it's a lot of gross sweaty feet on a platform. I don't know if that's actually the reason why, but that's the reason why I appreciate shoes for sport, because I am really, really sweaty when I do my sport sets. So
what do you like about sport comps? Because that's a world that I'm not really involved in at all.
I like competing. I'm a really competitive person. And I played like sports growing up, like through college, like through my sophomore year of college, I played soccer. And I can't really do contact sports anymore because I've had a couple of concussions, and I don't really want to see what happens if I get another one. So after I finished playing soccer, my sophomore year of college, there was a girl on my team when we were playing, and she had one more concussion than I had, though admitted like they were more severe than the ones I had. But she got fully knocked out on the field. Like knocked out, ambulance came. We had to go after our game. We had to like go to the hospital and sit in a hospital parking lot for like hours. And I was like, I think this is it for me. Like, I think this is my last season. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be knocked out. And I don't want whatever very long-term effects are happening, because it's also like right around when people are like, hey, concussions those are bad for you. And I was like, I think that's it. So I played like a little bit of like intramural, which is way less intense than what I was doing in college. Obviously, where people aren't like trying to slide into your face and hurt you like they kind of were when I played in college. Yeah, and so I was kind of like after that, I was not really training. I taught swimming and stuff at pools because I was a lifeguard and swim instructor. And then after I graduated college, I was like not doing anything. And eventually I picked up running and whatever, and I was competitive with that as well. Like, not like I wasn't doing races, but I was like trying to beat things. So like I beat like my best 5K time I did when I played soccer, and then I beat all of the military fitness things, so I could outrun. I had like the top scores on all of those if I were to do a military thing. Not that I could do push-ups or sit-ups to the capacity that they probably wanted me to do. I could probably do sit-ups, but not push-ups. Anyways, and then I looked up like equipment for a home gym back in like 2015, and kettlebell came up, and I bought a kettlebell. No, actually, I got it for Christmas. My grandma got it for Christmas, and then that's how it started. I got on Instagram and followed kettlebell people, and I ended up just following a bunch of sport people. Like somehow I ended up following Kim Fox. Actually, she commented on one of my things, like my very first video I posted, and I followed her. And then once I followed her, I followed all, like, you kind of fall into, there's like 15 people. I ended up following Brittany and all of that, and I was like, oh, that looks like fun. Like I could do a thing. I can be competitive in a way that I really, really miss and also really need, and also like I won't hurt myself. Like if I, get a concussion doing this, something has gone very wrong. And then we ended up moving to San Diego, which is where the gym was. Actually, I visited San Diego, and I had posted that I was going to visit San Diego, and this super sweet guy named Pete tagged Core. He's like, you should go check out Core, and tagged literally every single person who worked there. And they were all like, yeah, you have to come visit. And I was like, okay. And I like had this like really intense peer pressure. And then I went and I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. And I left that like first workout and I told my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, I was like, that's where I want to work. And then a couple of years later, I'm working there and coaching and doing that and then doing sport. And I just got really, really lucky because I stumbled into the sport and like finding the sport. I didn't stumble into like the dogmatic, like strong first or just sport. Like that wasn't the vibe I had at all. It was just like, come try this thing. And core wasn't like dogmatic at all. It was very, kettlebells are fucking cool. Whatever kind of kettlebell you want to do that. And I just got so lucky following and finding a kettlebell gym that did sport. And then I got to work with a lot of really cool people like Brittany and Dan, who are both who don't compete anymore, but were both like phenomenal kettlebell sport athletes.
What are their last names?
Brittany von Stravenjik.
Oh, I know. Oh, okay, yeah, she's a kettlebell king. Like,
yeah. And Dan Betcher, who's Muscle Hipster on Instagram. But he doesn't really they don't really do sport as far as I know anymore. But they're both really, really good. At least they were. I'm sure they still are. And were really great coaches for me and got me to where I definitely wouldn't be the athlete I am without them. Dan was, when I first met him, I was like, I think I want to do sport, like that first meeting. He's like, it's really hard. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. And then I came back and I did. And I think he was a little bit surprised because I like moved to San Diego and did sport. He was cool. He still is cool, I presume. I just don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah, the sport people seem a bit insane in the sense that sports are, like even the kettlebell like meme page on Instagram, like you can tell there's like a lot of sport involved. I don't know who runs that account, but most of the memes are about how much they hate their life, and I'm like, yeah, that's all right.
That's why I got the "This is fine" flag. I don't know if you can see it, that one, because that's sometimes what it feels like when you're doing sport. Everything's on fire, but this is fine.
Yeah, just like the sheer amount of like reps are just crazy to me. Just reps on reps.
I think more than anything, like the reps are hard, but more than anything, what's the most challenging part about sport is the mental aspect of it. Yeah. Because you can be strong, but you won't finish the set. If you don't have your shit right up in your head for your set, you won't get through it. You have to be mentally set. That's like a thing I'm very annoying with my clients is getting them mentally in there and like having a plan. And if everything goes wrong, we have a plan for that. If you tear your finger in the first rep, we have a plan for that. So you can get through the 10-minute set because it's awesome, but it's entirely singular.
What's the plan if they tear their finger in the first rep?
Hold the bell over your head for a really long time.
The light goes down.
Yeah, so they basically, if you tear your finger in like the first second, the first rep is we do a shit ton of overhead holds. So they should be able to hold and try to do a few reps with the torn finger and last as long as they possibly can before switching to the second hand, and then set really well in the second hand, reset, take a breath, and then start, hopefully. But also, like, if you get a hand tear, typically with sport people, we've all gotten hand tears because the sheer amount of volume is going to tear your hands up at some point, or when you're learning technique, you're probably going to tear your hands up. I know when I first started, my hands were disgusting, blisters all of the time. It was awful. And then I was like trying to convince my husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, to do sport. And he was like, your hands are so gross. I don't want to do this. And he was going to school for massage therapy. He's like, I can't have my hands have holes in them. Like I'm like touching people doing like I can't be doing this. So he doesn't do sport. But yeah, so like if you've done sport for any period of time, and you will have before attempting like a 10-minute competition set, you can kind of push through a little while with a torn hand, but we don't in training. We try to protect the hands and not tear them. But it
Yeah,
happens.
when I first started training with kettlebells, granted I never got into sport, but
Mhm.
I bought one of those like gymnast leather pads that would cover your palm, and
Mhm.
I used those for probably 2 months straight. But after a while, I was like, all right, enough of this crap. Like, no one I don't see anyone else using this. I'm
Yeah.
probably holding the bell wrong. Sure enough, I was
Yeah,
like
it's nice to
palm
have
up.
like that feedback on your hands. So that way
Yeah,
you know where your hands are. But for sport, you can't wear gloves. It's not
no,
allowed.
that's good. Well, and also it increases the sort of mass of the handle, and so it
Mhm.
works your forearms a
And
lot more.
sport handles are thick too. Like
Yeah,
they're not
yeah,
small
right. So
handles.
that also tires you out more if you have to grip on the bell more.
Yes, 'cause the grip is the thing. Is you gotta train your grip. We train grip all of the time. What
What
else
do
was
you
just
think is the most common question that you get from noobs who on Instagram ask you about? Like, because for me, it's probably my wrist hurts. Am I doing
yeah,
this wrong? That's
yeah.
like the biggest thing.
That's I have like 4 or 5 like real response videos to why does my wrist hurt or uh why do I have bruises on my forearm or like do you always have bruises on your arms? I was like no, that's not right.
I don't even get that one. I've never had a bruise on my. I mean, I understand that people can like smack the bell and it hurts them and they get a bruise. I've never had a bruise during my entire
I
kettlebell career.
when I
You
first
did get
started.
bruises?
Yeah. Well, because when I first started, I was self-taught. Like I just watched like
Yeah.
YouTube videos. Um, and that's how I learned. And it was good for swings. It was really good for like my swing was solid. And my clean like there wasn't like a whole lot of information on how to do a clean. So no, I had bruises here on my forearm, and then I also would get them on my shoulder. So I'd come around and I'd bang both of them.
Oh,
So I
during the clean?
yeah, I had both bruises, and it was not cute.
Yeah.
Until I
Look like you're being
until I
abused by your military husband. Just kidding.
no, that's it did though, and like when we moved to San Diego, I was trying to figure out like if it was like how do I are we gonna get a coach, and he was like you need to get a coach. This is looking really bad. Like you have to figure this out.
Well, when you
Um,
started, this is 2015, right? So,
yeah.
or is that, yeah. So there was probably not a lot of info online. Nowadays, though, there's so much on YouTube, on
Yeah, no,
Instagram.
when I first started, there was nothing. It was mostly CrossFit. Like a lot of the stuff I I was CrossFit. There was a lady, I don't know, she probably still makes videos. Her name was like Body Fit by Amy, and she did little 30-minute YouTube workout videos. And that's how I learned how to do a swing. And yeah, that's how it was just little workout videos, and then Pop Sugar had little workout videos with kettlebells, and
Mm.
that's how I started. But they didn't have anything on cleans,
Yeah.
so it was just a mess. I was looking at one of them yesterday because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for my video this morning with the you have to suck at something before before you can get good at it.
Yeah.
And I almost put one where you can see that bell is whacking the shit out of my arm, and it's out here like it's all bad. But now you can just Google kettlebell clean and you can find stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is still difficult to just teach yourself, but it's a lot easier with the resources that are
Yeah,
available.
there's a lot more information, and then luckily within I don't know, for like a year or so of uh, of kettlebelling, I moved to San Diego and worked out at Core, and I learned how to do stuff there like through them. But at that point, I was like right there. It was just like tweak, like loosen your grip a little bit, like those little things that like when you're learning on your own, you won't
Mm.
necessarily get unless you have like a video or feedback. Also, when I first started, it was it was so much smaller of a community of kettlebell people that it was a lot more like giving feedback, and it was like I don't know. I think it's still pretty community based with a lot of the things, but there was a lot though. I was getting a lot of like really, really helpful advice from cool people. Like Kim Fox was like one of the first people who commented, like I said, and she was like the person who gave me a tip on cleans. So I stopped bruising myself as badly. I still was not perfect, but
Yeah, even if
yeah.
you have all the information, it still takes a lot of time and practice to figure out.
It's really just reps, and that's like
Yeah.
it's just reps and time, and getting used to bells and that, and getting used to like holding the weight too, because even when you're good at it, there's still weight on your forearm, and that's not like a natural thing. It is for kettlebellers, but like it's not like in your day to day. If you're coming from like general strength training, you don't typically hold a weight where there's a weight sitting on your arm.
Do you use
So
the term bone stacking in your training? Does that mean anything to you?
joint stacking, yeah.
Huh?
I do joint stacking
Oh, you
for
say joint? Oh, okay. I say bone stacking. That's interesting.
that too. Bone stacking works too. But when I talk about like overhead holds or what your fixation should be for sport, it's your joints are stacked, wrist to ankle.
Yeah.
So in theory, you should be all straight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big one because like I said, I was looking at my old videos and my wrist was all it's all bent back, and I was like, oh man, and I was so proud of myself. And I should be proud of myself because it was better, but also,
Yeah. You're
man,
constantly improving.
oh yeah, like my everything I do from like a year ago is better, and I think that's the thing. What is there like a reason why you stick with kettlebells over anything else?
I think I just feel holistically fit with kettlebells just because it does require like full body movement from most of the movements, unless you're doing more grinding movements on purpose, like if you're doing a floor press, right? Like the more ballistic a movement is, the more of your body sort of need to utilize. I think prior to finding kettlebells, I was neglecting certain muscle groups, like my lower back for sure. For some reason, I just sort of like avoided anything that would strengthen my lower back because I was afraid of
Support it.
damaging my spine. Yeah. But the lower back is part of that posterior chain. And although you're not using only your lower back for kettlebell swings, you will activate it. And
Yeah,
so,
you have to brace it, otherwise it hurts.
right. So, when I first started with swings, I felt soreness in my lower back for the first time, but it was like good soreness, I was like, oh, this is different. This is a weak point in my body. And so like part of that chain, like I'm more again, holistically strong. All of my muscles work together in unison now. But with my other form of working out that I used to do, it was just like traditional, like bodybuilding, like gym bro kind of stuff. And you just neglect a lot of that connection in different muscles. And you sort of you're forced to hit those muscles with kettlebell training.
Yeah, and you have to focus a little bit more, I think, with kettlebell training, with the way that the movements are, in a way like with like general strength. Like if you're using machine, you can kind of like
You just do it. I like to say there's an inverse relationship between the engineering involved in the equipment that you use and the simplicity of the workout. So like a kettlebell, for example, is an extremely simple tool. It's just a ball to handle. And but it's complicated to work with it.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing a leg press, the engineering involved in the leg press is a lot more. There's a lot more engineering involved in that, and it's a lot easier to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Focus on all you gotta do is this. But if you want to do
Yeah.
a kettlebell squat, you gotta hold the bell right. You gotta put it in your rack or whatever.
Yeah. Or even like a sandbag, like you have to pick it up a certain way and you have to hold it, and so
clean.
yeah, the more simple a tool is, the more difficult the skill is to use it, I would say, in general.
Yeah, you gotta. There's a prerequisite amount of like skill in order to do a kettlebell squat versus even a barbell squat.
Yeah, you mentioned you spoke to Emilio recently, and he had an interesting take on Turkish get-ups because you do have to concentrate a lot. He doesn't like them. It's like
I know we talked about it.
Oh, did you? Yeah, it's a controversial opinion. I'm sort of like in the middle of it. I don't do Turkish get-ups quite often. But I understand that his view is that he doesn't like them because you have to concentrate a lot on like not messing up. And because you're focusing on not messing up, you're not optimizing. You're just like
Yeah.
making sure
It's
you
not
don't
optimal.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I like
But then you love Turkish get-ups, so
I mean, I use them all of the time. Like I use them as they're like a really good complement to a bent press. Like
yeah.
basically you could bent press and Turkish get up and you would hit your full body strength that you need to hit. But I also get it. Like it's not probably the lift for everyone. Like if you're trying to lift like super heavy weights, like for a rep or two, Turkish get up is probably not the thing for you, and that's fine. But also I have people whose whole goal is to Turkish get up well, and that's also fine. I think, and I mean, like we're all cool, like, but like you don't have to do Turkish get ups if you don't want to. I don't care.
It'll like, if you do them, it'll be good for you. You know, like
it's a good lift, and I like Turkish get ups. And a lot of people I work with is like Turkish get ups, and it is a good skill to have, I think. Especially because I do sometimes work with people who are older, and being able to get up off the floor is a skill that is really important. And even if it's like we're not doing it under a lot of weight, but knowing how to move off of your back onto from the floor up to standing is good for you. You don't have to do it heavy, but I know Emilio really likes heavy stuff. So that's cool. And so Turkish get up really heavy is not necessarily what aligns with him or the people he works with. And that's fine. I like them though. But I also don't go super heavy because I'm doing Turkish get ups. I'm usually using them as a warm up for my bench pressing.
Right. Well, yeah, you do go heavy with the bench press.
That's my only like my friend Dan always says, he's like, that's your only like truly heavy thing that you're doing. Like that's it, because everything else is very much submaximal because sport's very light. Mace stuff is light. And that's fine. I only need really one heavy thing. Everything else can be what. Every now and then I'll get an itch to do like a heavy deadlift, and I'll train that for a little bit, and that's fine. But I don't train it very often because it doesn't benefit most of my training. Doing one rep of a heavy deadlift doesn't do a lot. Like it's good for you, obviously. You can do a heavy deadlift if that's what's fun for you. But it doesn't cross over a whole lot for my bench pressing. And it definitely doesn't really do, like one single heavy deadlift does not do a whole lot for me to be able to snatch for 10 minutes or do jerks or long cycle for 10 minutes. And my things that I'm like basically only ever working on is sport or oh my goodness, bench pressing. Those are the only things that I like to do. So every now and then, like I said, I'm like, yeah. Are you working on anything specifically these days?
Like a specific skill that I try to get better at?
Mm-hmm. Or like
I don't really have like specific goals. I just try to, my whole thing, I like to use moderate weights for a moderate rep count. So I'm kind of I'm between you and Emilio in that sense, where I don't go too heavy and I don't ever do like 1 rep maxes.
No.
I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze in terms of like injuries most of the time. But so I try to increase my weights by 4 kilograms. So I the way that I do it is I have like a light, medium, and then heavy bells for specific workouts, and then every couple of months, 2 to 3 to 4 months, I just try to like increase those by 4 kilograms each. Yeah. And so I think right now I'm more excited maybe about the dead snatch. I just really like that movement a lot.
Yeah.
Moving up in weight for that. I find that as I train more with bells, I do less ballistic movements that involve like multiple planes. I do more of like the grinding, like vertical single line movements. Yeah, straight up and down. I don't know why that is. I think it's just more power. It feels more powerful to me.
Yeah. And if you
Um,
like it, you like it.
yeah, that's
That's
the
the
thing. It's like if you like it and it works for you, then do it. Like
yeah.
if you don't
Like,
like it, you're not gonna sustain it. Yeah.
I don't really want to do that snatch, but you probably don't want to snatch for 10 minutes straight or
No,
3 minutes.
that sounds like absolute hell to me. That sounds like the worst time. I
To be fair,
do.
that's normally what people think about sport. Is that does sound like hell, and to be fair, sometimes it is. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why you have the literal hell meme in
yeah,
the back. This is
yeah,
fine.
this is fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about
But I
it.
do, although I will say occasionally, every couple of weeks I have volume tests. So I
Mm,
will, but I think the way that we define volume is slightly different. I do volume as like weight times reps, and I think your definition of volume is more just like rep count, right?
yeah, I mean, it depends on like it depends on things, but like generally, yeah, it's my volume is time. Like it's timed sets. So like I'm just trying to get depending on the client, like either up to like a certain amount of time and just like how many reps we can do without our hands falling off in that time is a
Okay.
win. And then as you get like stronger, it's like how many like trying to push the reps in that timed. So
Gotcha.
for like me, what my like timed volume type work is like much higher. Like yesterday when I did 3 minute sets, which is relatively like low. That's a pretty like easy thing for me to do. I was like, I want to be over 20 reps per minute for all of these sets. And that's my volume for that. But if I was doing it for like maybe 8 minutes or 9 minutes or 10 minutes, I wouldn't be hitting 21 reps per minute
Yeah.
for the whole thing. At least I mean I would like to be, but like generally right now I don't think I could be. So I'd be like, okay, so how many reps would be reasonable, and how many reps per minute is that going to be, and how many reps can I maintain? Um, but it's really personal for like everything. Like I don't think what I want to do for like my 3 minute is not going to look the same for any of my clients 3 minutes. Like they're all going to look different depending on even if it's the same lift at the same weight, it's all going to look different depending on a
Your
million
skill
different
level.
things.
Yeah. So like I do high volume stuff occasionally, but not in the same way that you do. So for example, I have two volume tests. One of them
Mhm.
is dead snatch volume test, and that's 10 minutes. So it's like however much volume, weight times reps I can get, like however many kilograms I can get in 10 minutes. That's what I try to beat next time. So I can like, if I do a 24 kilogram and then times like, say for example, it's 100 reps. So that's 2,400
Yeah.
kilograms in that 10 minutes. So then the next month I would do it again. Maybe
Mhm.
I'll use a 28 kilogram or I'll use a 24 kilogram and try to get more reps or whatever it may be, just to get like increase that volume. Then the other one is double clean and thrusters and that's for 30 minutes. And I don't hold on to the bell
No,
for
you
an
put it
entire,
on and reset and switch hands.
yeah, I do like maybe 3 reps per minute
That,
or whatever.
that's similar to how I do my bench press stuff right now because it's sometimes like I mean in theory in a perfect world I'd be hitting all the reps and sets perfectly. That doesn't always happen because life is hard. So when I do that, I just try to like match the volume that I would be trying to hit. So like if I'm trying to do 5x5 at 38K, in theory that'd be like I don't know, it's like 2,800 kilograms moved. So I just try to like even if I have to break out the sets differently, I try to hit 2,800 kilograms moved.
Okay.
And just hit the reps and like sometimes I have to go lighter so that I hit more reps, but I hit the same amount of weight moved overall.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to make it work because some days the bench press workout is too much. I
Right.
don't
Right.
sleep well. If I don't sleep well the night before or something, it just everything falls to shit or something.
Then it's tough.
Yeah, and like it's a taxing lift, so I
Right.
have to play it smart. At least that's what I've been informed. I have to be smart about it, otherwise I won't be able to do it. So
Yeah.
I try to work around it and like, okay, I'm not gonna hit 5 sets of 4, whatever the fuck I'm supposed to be hitting. But I will hit the same amount of weight moved, even if it's ugly, or even if I have to drop down to much lighter and do a million more reps.
No matter
We'll
what
do
you
that.
gotta do.
Yeah, make it work.
One sec, my cat wants to get into the room and he's like,
yeah, you're good.
All right.
No, you're good. I'm surprised my dog hasn't. She's not crying at the door. I assume my husband is doing a good job of distracting her. Because usually she sits right out there and I can just hear her crying the whole time I'm talking to people. She's like, I would love to be involved in whatever conversation you are having right now. Well, I know we're kind of getting over time here. So let's talk about how do people find you and your like stuff, because you do the touch grass company, and where are you on the internet?
Oh, like if people want to reach out or see my stuff, go
yeah,
to my Instagram account is Eric Does Kettlebell. And then touchgrassco is my apparel brand, which isn't like connected to kettlebells really. It's just more about getting outside in nature and connecting with that. Like there's a whole story behind why I started it, but I work out a lot outside and it's been like this whole thing. And I figured I would have this new hobby where I design my apparel that's dedicated to that sort of lifestyle of mine. So Touchgrass Co is the name of it. You can go to tgco.co if you want to check out clothes, or just go to the Instagram and support it that way.
Right?
Sorry?
You have a new drop of stuff coming soon, or it just
I actually have to like prep it today after this call. Like, it's all, I don't know if you can see these boxes. My webcam's far away. I have like boxes all over the place. Literally, I have like 12 or 13 boxes filled with clothes. So I hope they sell out.
You got your shirt on too. You couldn't see it with your jacket.
Touchgrassco. There's a kettlebell on the back.
Yes.
I don't really have enough room to twist around, but just those 2 accounts, that should be fine.
And I'll link all of that so everyone can find you and follow you and see your really, really pretty video editing and your nice apparel.
Thank you. I try to make them as aesthetic as possible.
They're very aesthetic, and meanwhile I'm in my like troll den of meme flags.
Everyone has their own style, that's what makes, I think that authenticity is very important on social media, and I think that you do a good job of that.
Thank you. I'm gonna go juggle to Fall Out Boy after this. So
the Fall Out Boy?
keep on brand. We got a new Fall Out. I'm wearing a Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's Fall Out Boy.
That's a Fall Out Boy shirt because they had a new album come out yesterday.
Did they really? I didn't even realize they were still making music.
It's their first one in like 5 years. It's very exciting for me, and it's really good. It's better than their last one, so even better. It's nice when they come out and do good, because the last Panic at the Disco album was a disappointment. So let's go follow.
Isn't that a shame when a band that you love just doesn't? I mean, eventually they just don't sound the same anymore. So you gotta just listen to that stuff.
Yeah, the last couple, because I have a lot of thoughts about Brendan Urie and Panic at the Disco that nobody cares about. But so far, Patrick Stump hasn't let me down. His voice is good and he's not breaking it, and this album's rock solid. So we'll go juggle to that and have a good day. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk next time.
All right, thanks, Tiffany.